What's good, y'all? Black Visionville here. It's your girl Katie, aka your sister from another mister. Today, episode 5 of Black Visionville presents Black Table Talk, where we will be talking about protecting our black men. We have two special guests with us here today, JC and the Visionville One. Before we get started, I just want to remind everybody once again what is mental health. It is our emotional, psychological, and social well being. It helps how we think, feel, and act, and it helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make healthy choices. Thank you, JC and the Visionville One, for joining me today. Your presence is greatly appreciated.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having
Pre-
me.
appreciate
Yes,
it.
sir. Yes,
Appreciate it.
sir. So JC, I'll go ahead and let you go first with the introduction. Just tell where people could find you and a little bit about what you are about.
What's up, people? I'm JC. I'm just an author with a lot to say. You can find me on my website, www.jcstoryteller.com, all one word, and the same for all social media platforms, except I think for Instagram, you have to put a one behind it, JC Storyteller. But if you go to my website, it'll take you to anywhere you want to go.
Nice, nice. Thank you for that. And then the Visionville One, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
What up, y'all? It's the Visionville One, aka CJ, aka Duke, uh, your brother from another mother. Um, you can find me right here on Black Visionville. Also, coming up, I'm about to be having another channel called the Visionville One.
And where is that going to be at so folks can know to check in for that?
Oh, that's gonna be on YouTube mostly, and Inst- Instagram.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. So, again, today's show, we are going to be talking about protecting our Black men. For me personally, just from what I've noticed, there's a lot of the narrative to protect our Black women, which is great. You know, that's definitely something we need. But I feel like when it comes to Black men, the narrative is not the same. Everybody just assumes that Black men are strong, they don't need protection, they can handle it. So, we're going to be talking today about ways that we can, as a community, help to protect our Black men, start giving that love back to our Black men, and just having two Black men come on today and talk about what it's like to be Black in this country and what we can do as a community to help support them. So, either one of you, whoever wants to go first and take the floor, let's get into it.
Well,
How does it feel to be a
Uh,
Black man in America, JC?
um, prideful, but at times scary. Um, I'm proud of my skin. Um, I'm proud to have raised two awesome sons. Um, but then, there's always something that pops up, whether it's social media or the news, or just through just personal experiences where sometimes it's just I'd be nervous just to drive, especially when that period of time a few years ago when that was popping up every week. You know, a black person was either getting beat up real bad or killed. And on this note, I'm talking about from um, excessive force from the police. And me living in Georgia, we have a very racial climate, um, and there's a divide. Um, but my fears isn't so much of them; it's more than the people that's supposed to protect and serve me. I have friends that are cops, and they are dear friends, but and I know that every cop isn't bad, but what's hitting the news is what is making me think, because one of them may not be the one that pulled me over. Um, I've been pulled over, I would say, the last couple of years twice, and when I tell you, the scariest one was when I had my son in the car. You know, but we got past it. It wasn't no more than mistaken identity on my tag, something that they didn't do down at the tag office. But it's kind of nervous. And then too, the queens, the and I know, and I'm not going to say all queens, all sisters, but there are some sisters that just bash us. I mean, from A to Z. And there are queens that does reach out to protect us and talk highly of us, but it's the ones that with the negative stuff is the one that's the loudest, and that's just something that's just it's a little aggravating. It's a little aggravating, but
For sure. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that, and I do agree. I agree that the narrative, the negative narrative, seems to be what hits the top more than anything. And I know, like we were talking about yesterday, that's definitely not the majority, but somehow that seems to be what's fueling this fire between the so-called beef between black men and black women. Salute to Rod Neal in the building. Divisionville one, you want to go ahead and take the floor and just talk about a little bit about your experience about being a black man in America and what that means.
For for me, it's a little bit different because I'm light skinned black, you know. But my mom and my dad was black, but because my grandma was purely white, I got the light skin part, you know. But I have I have to say, you know, me growing up, from a child till now, I got into a lot more problems with the police as a young man growing up, you know, because I was in that negative area thought mindset, um, but because of the hood I was brought up in and was raised in, I had no form of choice. I was getting stopped by the police left and right, and trying to guard myself and do anything I had to do to not get caught by the police is what I had to do. You know, growing up and realizing what I was doing wrong as a man now, where I'm at now, I see the police. I don't really necessarily get, uh, nervous, but there is a sense of tension, meaning, what's gonna happen to me, you know, or do I have to keep my hands on the steering wheel because they think I'm gonna pull out a gun and shoot at them, so they gonna shoot me, and I'm not even about that life no more. You know what I mean? I'm not somebody who is going to start an issue with the police or even with my own kind. You know what I mean? Because for one, I'm a grown man, and for two, I was raised to be different from how I was acting as a child. So I realized that, and I was able to correct that mindset, and I'm thankful for that because now all my friends are in jail or dead, all of them. So I'm basically out here by myself when it comes to living the life that I have to do, and yeah.
Thank you for that. So I heard both of you talk about um, being a black man in America when it comes to experiences with police brutality and things like that. Can you both each just elaborate on what it feels like to be a black man within the black community? Because I feel like that's something that we do not bring light on as well. And when I say that, I mean like the expectations that you both individually feel like you are expected to do being a black man within the black community, and what those expectations are and how those expectations make you feel on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I feel like, for me, the things that I have to do, I have to do 3 times is better than the norm. Um, I keep my circle small, and I keep it small for a reason, because I found in my experiences that a lot of people, and I'm talking about my brothers and a few sisters, they they all for you in your face, but they don't have that same energy for you when you're not there or your back is turned. Um, so I've learned to, first of all, I'll feed a joker with a long handled spoon in a minute, but you won't be invited to the party. You know what I'm saying? And I really think that, and as far as our queens, I believe that once we once we start noticing that the queens have our backs, and that, you know no matter what happens, you know what I'm saying, we can always come to them, trust in them, and be comforted. I think that a lot of things with us will be better. We just have to support each other, support our businesses. And I give an example, like, um, I post a lot of stuff on Facebook and social media dealing with my books and stuff. I can put a post up about my books and stuff, but it won't get a lot of attention. Um, Even my friends, if sometimes they'll like it, sometimes they won't. But what bothers me, well, I ain't gonna say anymore because I've gotten used to it. But what it used to do to me is when I just see those same friends that I go to bat for, that we hang out with, posting stuff from other people like celebrities and stuff, kind of like giving them a push. This is making me like, well, dang. Now I'm hanging with you. I'm putting stuff out there. Why I can't get the same love? And I just think that they don't have the mindset to realize that, you know, how much they can help me just by posting a link that I put up to my stuff, or say, hey, support my brother or whatever. It's just, I don't know. So I don't know, sis. I don't know. I think that another thing too, if we could, and I know it ain't gonna change, but if we could ever get hip hop back to the way it was, I think that that'll do a lot for our community, because a lot of brothers and sisters are imitating what they hear on the radio or on some of these, and this is just my opinion, or on some of these TV shows. So if we can ever figure that out, then that I think that'll be one of the best first steps we can do with as far as our community go.
Thank
Yeah,
you for that.
I have
I
to agree.
appreciate that. Shout out to Flawless Mentality in the building. Thank you for tuning in and showing support. So, Divisionville One, if you want to go ahead with the same
I
question again, what do you feel
I
like are some of the expectations that you?
I have to again agree with my bro JC, because you know just starting the channel, it took most of members, well, you know
Your audio, you cut out, Divisionville One. Are you still there?
You must be in a bad area.
Okay, I think we lost him, but I'm just gonna elaborate further on that, because I do feel like that as well. There's definitely a lack of support within our community for each other. I see, just me personally, there's a lot more outer support for others than we have for each other. I can't speak for Black men because I'm not one, but from the outside looking in, to me, it seems like there is a high level of expectation that our Black men are held to. And sometimes I feel like those expectations can be unrealistic. when we're, growing up. I know for my brothers anyway, they were taught like, you don't cry, you don't show emotion, you're a boy, you're tough, you're this, that, or the other. But at the end of the day, you know, we're human first, before we're male, before we're female, before we're black, before we're white, whatever, and that is just a part of the human emotion. So growing up in a society where
I
we
think
are
I
taught,
lost
even
you.
a community where you're taught to be strong, where you're taught to not cry, where you're taught to be the big boy, I feel like that in turn has equated to, fast forward to nowadays, we look at our black men like they are somehow inhuman as far as when it comes to the level of emotions that they're allowed to have, the level of support that
And
we show to them. And
I,
so elaborate on that a little bit, because I see you
I,
shaking your head like
I
you
have,
agree.
I have to agree. You know what I mean? Because I was raised in a household full of women. You know what I mean? But when I was out, I was outside full of my niggas. You know what I mean? And they see me, and they see me start, you know, uh, uh, letting them know my feelings or whatnot. Then they'll go and be like, "Man, nigga, you crying? Come on now." You know what I mean? Then I'll sit up there and I'll be like, "All right, you good? I'm good. I'm good. I ain't crying." You know what I mean? But when I go home, and then I could sit and talk to my mom, and she'd be like, "What's wrong, son?" And that's when I let it out, and I can't, you know, I have to hold my heart straight when I'm outside the house. You know what I mean? I had to, because I didn't want to show that I was some type of soft punk or somebody who couldn't handle my own. And that right there fucking hurt me, because I was raised to love and understand where everybody was coming from. But when the thought of trying to express my feelings to somebody who I thought, you know, to the homies who I thought was there for me and shit, and trying to understand me, wanted them to understand me, it was the fact of, let's go smoke this blunt, you'll be all right. I would never be smoking. I would have never been smoking right now if it wasn't for my cousin right now. He
So
used to
think,
he
go
you
ahead, you're
know
fine. I'm sorry to cut you off.
he used to we used to play this game called open chess and shit, right?
I remember that
And
game.
yeah, if you had an open chest,
You
then the
getting
motherfuckers
punched.
just coming, you get punched straight to the fucking chest,
Hmm.
you know. And that's sometimes motherfuckers will take that shit and really fucking go in on you, you
Right,
know. And you know that type of fucking excuse my language, but that type of thought on, or not necessarily beating, but
right,
I can't describe it, but having that type of like game being played brought me up to be more rough,
right,
you know. And I wasn't brought up to be a rough man. I was
right,
brought up to be a kind and loving and gentle, caring, understanding, kind,
mhm,
uh, man.
right. But it's
And
different
and that
getting
changed my
into an
perspective
environment.
on everybody, men and women.
Right,
You know, then when I finally got a woman to understand where I was coming from and breaking me down and saying, "Oh, you're being too rough," or "You don't treat me like that," or "You don't do this," because I'm a woman. I had to step back and be like, "Damn, that's what my mom was telling me."
um,
So it hurt, but I had to, yeah, I had to fix it.
yeah, for sure. Salute Bug in the building. Thank you again for coming in, all y'all. It really, really means a lot showing that support. So thank you, Calvin, for that. JC, uh, can you elaborate as well on what that does to you mentally, emotionally, as a black man, when you're raised to be that tough, when you're raised to not show emotion, when you're raised to not shed a tear, when you're raised to basically be the tough guy, the big boy? How does that, go ahead and elaborate on that for me?
For me, my experience, sometimes it played at the time on my mental. You start having terrible
Facts.
thoughts.
Facts.
Um, you get stomach aches. Your body don't feel the same. You get lazy. You don't want to do anything. You cut yourself off from folks. You don't want to be bothered with people, even the ones you love. Um, and when you really don't have no one that you can really vent to, that you can trust, to be vulnerable to like that, then it builds up and builds up, and then there have been times that stuff has happened that usually be some I may laugh at or walk off from with a twisted lip. Just I just went off with like rage, and it ain't necessarily was that. It was just the fact of all the stuff, the emotions that have built up within me. And we talking about jobs, your job, your family, your the relationship you in, financially, all that stuff can get to build up and get to thinking, and I can't lie, and and I don't want to say it's more of depression than just um, complications of life, but I've cleaned my little gun off plenty of times looking at it. But you know I had kids, so the thought never went too far, but I did imagine it, you know, doing it, but it never went that far. And this is one of the ways I say I think that like our queens are so important to us, because if you're in a relationship with a woman that you can be vulnerable to, that understanding, that knows your heart and knows how to caress your mind and talk to you and listen and don't judge you and compare you to other guys, that's a keeper, that's a gold mine. And you know yeah, so that's been kind of like my experiences. So it's kind of rough on us because again we have so many things coming at us, like I say, from work, getting overlooked on a promotion for
Mm.
for somebody, let's say a different skin color, that has way less um experience on the job than you have. I mean, I know experience sometimes isn't the main factor, but you'll know when when it has to do with other than the experience or the mindset. So it's rough for us. And then to look at the way they did us in history, um, the experiments down in um
Tuskegee, I think that's
yeah,
in my,
yeah,
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 that and the way you see those people walking, the way you see the images of how they used to do us, hang us from trees, burn us in the middle of the yard with the kids out there, high fiving, and like they had a circus and stuff.
right.
Yep.
You
It's
know,
tough.
Yep.
I know they
Yep.
say sometimes alcohol doesn't, but sometimes you need that shot
Right.
to get over. If it's just for that, they say it doesn't cure everything. It's just a temporary fix, but sometimes that temporary fix can make a
Makes
difference
a
between
difference. Right.
you doing
Yep.
something crazy versus, you know what I'm saying, clearing your head and be like, okay, I can get over this.
Right. Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. I
Yep.
hear that. And
Y'all go ahead.
Bug,
I hear y'all. I'm just arriving at the job, so y'all go ahead. I'm still here though.
okay. Bug, I seen your comment before you took it off, and I understand what you mean by that when you say men have a hard time being vulnerable. And I agree 100%. I once heard a black man say that, we live in a world where in America, the black man is the most hated. And so he's out in the world and he's trying to navigate through being the most hated man in America, and then to have to come home and be the most hated man in the household, it can do something to you mentally. So I agree 100% that we have to take it back and take back that narrative for our black men. Bug just put another comment. Men have a hard time being vulnerable because it looks as weakness. And I agree with that. Like I said, it's that narrative. Like, you're supposed to be tough. You're supposed to be the big, strong black guy. You're supposed to be the head of the household. But like I said before, even the head has emotions. Even the head has good days, has bad days. We're human and we have to, I feel like, especially just speaking for black women, we have to get back to that mentality of protecting our black men, because society does not and will not. And to see other black women out here that are feeding into the narrative of trying to publicly castrate the black male, it's scary. It's disheartening, because like I said before, black men are the head of our household, so that's something that we definitely have to get back to as a community, outside of, JC, like you were saying, being there, allowing your black man to be vulnerable and showing that support. What are other things do you feel like us as black women, us as black men in the community who may be in a position to show their brothers support? What are things that we can do, to help give that support to change that narrative?
So the biggest thing that I can think of right off the bat is just have our backs when somebody degrade us, step in and be like, hold on, you can't talk like that about that brother like that around me. And if that grows, then a lot of things will change, and then a lot of these brothers that are looking at the sisters in a different light, and I know not all of them, because a lot of us are stubborn or got their ways, they'll start thinking differently as well. Sisters is and a lot of people won't agree. I think that the sisters is the backbone, and especially a good sister is the backbone,
Right.
because she could be the strength for that brother when all else fails.
Right.
So yeah, just have our backs when we ain't there to you know what I'm saying, because a lot of stuff that this thing that goes over our head is started from a far corner where there is no black men at anyway, and it spreads like a cancer. And then the next thing you know, we got this thing where you know all black men ain't, and all that. So yeah, if just have our backs is the
Right.
best thing we
You
can
know,
have.
and that's true because we don't want to have to have a hard day, at work, and then come home and we try to have a conversation about work, and our loved ones ain't listening to us. You know, even if it's even it could be a friend, a wife, a brother, a cousin, anybody. You know what I mean? And we want to be able to have a good conversation and have somebody understand where we coming from at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, I feel like, our black men deserve that. They deserve to be asked, how was your day? Are you okay? And I feel like, because there's that level of,
Right,
like Bug was saying, don't want to look weak. We expect you to be up here. And even if you're not up there, you have to be regardless. Black men don't get
right,
that. 90% of the time. How was your day? How are you feeling? Is there anything you need from me? Because, like, Calvin, how you
right,
were
and then
saying, you break down and start crying and get laughed at, you know.
right, and then even vice versa too. The men should do that for their women. If they had a bad day, hey, sit down. What's
Hey,
going on with you?
Renee.
Let me talk. Let me talk to you. You know, how's your day? That's why I'm here for you. I'm here to understand. I'm here to you know, conversate with you. Here to love you and understand where you coming from too.
And I like how Bug said that, he said, right, defend us like we protect you. And that is so important, because
Facts,
I
and that's
feel like
facts. That's
that's a
facts.
narrative too. like, oh, when it comes to black women, we expect black men to protect us, but when the shoe is on the other foot, it's like, well, that ain't my man, or I'm not doing that. What is he doing for me? And it's like, we can't be like that. We have to keep that same energy, the same way that we want black men to come to our aid and protect us, regardless of if we're their woman or not. It has to be the same way. It goes both ways. It's a two-way street to definitely sit here and say, that's the energy that I want from you, so this is the energy that I'm going to give to you, you know.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Exactly.
It's
Y'all are
important, it's
y'all
necessary.
are,
But
y'all are important to us, and it's heartbreaking. Like sometimes I come on and I'm seeing, where people putting snippets of women that's like finding all kind of reasons to degrade us and tell us what they don't need and reciting stuff from the those female rappers that you know they're just saying stuff that's demasculinized, if that's a word. Us, we most of us, and I've say most because I know there's always a few stragglers. Most of us want to protect y'all. Most of us want to be on the front lines and be like, yo, you're not going to talk about my queens like that. And what I'm finding, and even recently, is that a lot of brothers is like now is starting to say stuff like, "Well, that's not my fight." They want to be independent. They got it. They can have it. And it's just it's hard. Like I give it an
Right.
example, and before I even say this, I have nothing against the alphabet community and the people that whack the thing off and want to be women. They are starting to, and it's funny because they want to be a woman, but I'm getting a situation where Meta, the ones that own Facebook and Instagram, is now saying that they are able to show their boobs
wow.
because they're not considered neither man or woman.
Yeah, that non-binary.
Yeah,
Wow.
but
And
they
that's why
doing
that's
it.
right now. That's why they got them damn bathrooms that says both sexes. I hate that shit.
It's crazy,
Yeah.
and
My bad.
we
Go
look.
ahead, JC. My
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, you good, bro. You because you had a good point. But the women, you're not allowed to show yours. But these people want to be you, but they're able to do that.
Right.
But they got so much power. And the women need to realize the fight isn't with the black men. Because
Right.
we want to be there with you. The fight is what's sneaking up behind you, what
Right.
these people with their thing whacked off, trying to replace you.
Mm.
That's the fight. And us men, because most of us men is masculine, we ain't with that. I
Right.
mean, we can, if that's what they want to do, like in my opinion, I love all people. If that's what you want to do, what you want to do, but don't try to force it on me. Don't
Right.
put one of those people in in a feminine sport against my daughter or my granddaughter,
Right.
because now you starting to get anger from me. And then the first thing that they're going to say is, well, you hate these. No, it ain't that.
Right.
It's the fact that you got an advantage because you are biologically a man.
Right.
I don't care what they don't took off from you, put in you
Right.
to make you look like one of them.
Right.
It's just, and then they get upset because when they don't have their way, they want to start counseling everybody. They
Right.
want to threaten people, and then people gets to the point where they start recanting their statements and stuff.
Mm.
So if the sisters can make us feel empowered and masculine, and then we can be there and be like, yo, this ain't right. We need to do something.
Right.
Or you're not going to talk about my sisters like that. But that's how I see that.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. And that's a good point because from just again, from the outside looking in within our community, I feel like, when it comes to the black feminine male that is a part of that community, that they get more support from black women than the straight heterosexual black male. And to me, that's a problem because at the end of the day, Black men are the head of our household. We need our black men. We need our black men to feel safe, to feel secure, to feel vulnerable, to feel like they have somebody who has their back when we're living in a country where everybody hates us. Everybody hates us, but everybody wants to be us at the same time. That can mess with you mentally for anybody. So especially for the black male who is going through life again, not getting the support that he should be getting. And then on top of that, you're seeing this black male walking around in a skirt and he's surrounded by black women who have nothing but love and support for him. That's a problem.
Big
Right.
problem.
Let
Yeah.
me ask. Th- this might be a question. I mean, a question for another topic on another day. But what do y'all think about family generational curses?
Yeah, I feel like that's a topic for another day. That's not really what we
Because
are, but I'll just say
I,
that
I
I don't know. It's
but
iffy to have my own
I threw
opinion
that in
about that.
because I threw that in because let me tell y'all right. So where did this gay and lesbian thing start? When did it start? What man kissed another man and said it was okay? What woman
Rome,
kissed another woman and said when?
Rome. I think
Because if that's not a fucking curse, a generational curse, that I don't know what the fuck it is. Because generational curses can't just be money. I know it's just not money.
right.
It's about when all this shit started, right?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah,
So
I'm not sure.
that's why I threw that in, but that's going to be another topic for another day. But
Yeah,
I don't believe in that shit. I don't believe in generational curse. I believe that it's because of the fucking family ain't doing shit or the household ain't doing shit is why we ain't getting to where we need to be.
right.
We ain't actually standing up for each other. We're not actually doing the shit that we need to be and go stand 10 toes outside on these goddamn streets and fucking protest for this shit.
Right.
You know?
Even
Not actually loving each other, not
right,
actually doing the things that we need to do to stand tall and hold each other's uh uh head up. You know what I mean?
right. I agree. Go ahead,
We
Jason.
we
But yeah,
we see brothers getting on the news on the internet getting squeezed by the police, getting killed by the police, or by any um you know I don't want to say the word I'm gonna say racial gang, and we still waiting on a decent reform
Right,
where or anything where once those attacks against those Asian people got took off, what happened? It went straight to making changes and making harsh
facts. They
penalties for
stopped that
people.
shit instantly.
yeah,
So where so what about us?
right.
What about us?
Right,
So
because
and
in saying that, sorry to cut you off, in that same year that that was happening, they said like the attacks on Asians jumped by like 4% that year. They said the attacks on black people jumped about 98% that year.
yeah, and again, it goes back to what you were asking the question about how it feels being a black man. You know, really, we don't really have no protection,
Right,
not, especially from our government that we pay taxes to. I
right,
mean, they get our taxes just like they do from any other skin color, but we are
right,
always the ones that's that got to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. You know what I'm saying? To keep it moving.
right.
So yeah, it plays a big psyche on you sometimes. That's why I said the having a
Yeah,
queen that got your back and
yeah,
understanding is our best asset.
Right.
yeah.
So let me ask you this. Do you feel like if you are a black man living in a household where you are not respected by your black queen, do you feel like that will trickle down to your children's to make them act the same way, or do you feel like it's more
That's a
of
good
a
question.
how you're raised by your father type of deal that will determine how your child grows up and respects you as the black man in the household?
But see, here's the thing
I
with
would
that because my bad, JC. Here's the thing with that,
Okay.
right? Because growing up, I used to see my dad do some faulty shit to my mom, right? I used to see my dad do some faulty shit, and I never took his mindset to do that shit to other women as a child growing up. You
So
know,
with saying that,
uh,
sorry to cut you off, but in saying that, do you feel like because of how you saw that he did your mom, did that play into the level of respect that you had for him?
no, no. The uh, well, I have to say yes and no, um, because the the things that he did to my mom, I noticed and I seen that it wasn't right. The only reason why I have respect for my dad is because the things that he always held a job. Still to this day, he goes to work every single day. He ain't never one brought me down the wrong road, you know. And for two, he always he taught me to be the man who I am, you know. But my mom gave me my heart.
Okay. Thank you for that. JC, you want to elaborate on that question I asked as well?
Yeah, I'll try to make this quick. I
No,
was
you're fine.
raised I was raised in a house from my great grandparents, and my great granddad, I call him G Pop, was the head of the household. He worked every day. My G mom, she was kind of ill, that couldn't get around too good. I mean, she can walk, but she had to use a cane. You know what I'm saying? She ran the number racket. And so the money was coming in, and I watched how, her role in the house versus his role in the house, and that's where my mindset grew up. And to this day, that's how I would love my situation to be. And I say that in contradiction to where my biological dad used to walk by the house every day, and it was almost like he was creeping by because he didn't want me to see him. I also watched my biological mom get pistol whipped by her boyfriend. I maybe putting too much out, but I'm just telling the way it is. And me right now, I still my focus is my mindset is still on what I saw growing up in my great grandfather's house. I know that my great grandfather and them times have changed, but she was working. I mean, she was bring home plenty of money doing the number racket. You know what I'm saying? He did his 9 to 5. When he came home, food was ready. Sometimes he cooked, but when he came home, food was ready. House repairs, he did it. Um, you know what I'm saying? So cutting the grass, he did it. Of course, I helped him around, learn how to do some things. That's how I grew up, and that's the structure that I'm just gonna say it. A traditional woman is a blessing. You get a traditional woman, your whole life, you have to be, but it have to be a man with the right temperament and mindset. Your whole life can change and be different. So that's all I got on that one. So yeah,
Okay. Yeah, yeah, that's a fact. I agree with that. And I ain't gonna say no names, JC, but you got a fan in the chat that thinks you very handsome. That's all I'm gonna say. I ain't gonna put her on.
I don't see nothing. I
I'm
don't
not
see,
gonna put her on blast, but I just wanted to pass along that message.
well, thank you, Queen.
But yes, yes, like I completely agree with you. And like Bug said here, being black in America is a gamble, and that's true. If anything, you being black in this country, you know how it feels to be black in this country.
I'm not seeing none of that. Hold on.
The chat? No, she
Okay.
didn't put it in the chat.
Oh, I see it now. I
Uh-uh.
see it. The bug put up there. Yeah,
Oh, Bug. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah,
I
but
see it
it
now.
is, you can relate if you are black in this country. Even if that's the only thing you can relate to, you don't know what it feels like to be black in this country unless you are black in this country. And then when you break it down between the black man and the black woman, like I said, we live in a society where we just do not protect our black men. We just do not regard their feelings, that we just do not regard that at the end of the day, they are human and that they need love too. Bug also said, yes, the kids see the disrespect. It does make a difference. I choose not to be a product of my environment. That was a personal choice. You have to be mentally strong.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Um,
facts.
yeah, I just agree. I can't. I ain't got nothing.
Elaborate on that by having to be mentally strong so you don't grow up like Calvin was saying, seeing his father mistreat his mother and choosing to not be like that, because it can be easy to do what you know. So elaborate on having to be mentally strong as a black man in this country.
The Visionville one.
So, I remember, and I'm gonna say this to get into my point. I remember me and my cousin was walking not too far from our neighborhood, heading towards our neighborhood, and this white cop pulls up in this patrol car beside us, questioning us where we going, where we been, what we doing on his block. You know what I'm saying? And it took, especially my cousin, every strength in our body to not say, because we knew that once we say something, it wasn't going to end well for us. So, but again, I take a lot again from my great grandfather, watching how he handled different situations, and I know a lot of people will say, well, they was cooning and buffooning to get by, but they survived. And I'm not telling nobody to coon and buffoon, but I mean, you you pick your battles. Pick your battles. I mean, you can't. Ain't no need of going out into an alley where there's 10 people want to kick your butt and you going. No, you just have to. Sometimes you just have to just sit back and wait your turn. But this skin color could be. A lot of people are jealous of our abilities. A lot of people are jealous about how we look. A lot of them hate us, but they want our culture. They want our music. You see it every day. So, but they'll turn right around and talk trash about us. Don't do anything about, man. That cop shot that woman in her own house because he ain't no man. And I don't think nothing still happened to him. You feel me? So
It didn't.
we we deal with a lot, and when we see it so much, we get upset and we want to do something, but all we can do is just sit and look at the TV and just ball and just sometimes you just let it out. Go
Right.
get a drink. And if you ain't really got nobody that you can truly have that conversation with, to be vulnerable with,
Yeah.
it can be a lot.
It can. I agree. And with that being said, when you're a black man in this country and you're seeing so many black lives being lost to at the hands of the police, and then you live in areas where proximity killings are very high, how does that make you look at your fellow black brother? Because when it comes to seeing police killings like that, it makes you, kind of put your guard up when it comes to these police officers. Like, I gotta make sure that I'm on guard so I don't lose my life. When it comes to being a witness, for example, the Visionville one, he grew up in a neighborhood where proximity killings were very high, and he watched his friends, his neighbors, a lot of them lose their lives. So for him, he said it made him feel like that he had to protect himself. So with that being said, what does that do to a black man mentally when you're dealing with feeling like you have to protect yourself against somebody who looks just like you?
It hurts.
Anger. A lot of black folks, and I don't want to say gangster, but a lot of these wannabe thug guys, they go to sleep dreaming about beating up or killing a black person. They dream about it, you know. Um, but you don't never hear. Anytime you talk about you hear another black person talking about killing somebody, it's always I'm 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 a killer ninja today. If they step on I'm gonna kill a ninja today. You don't never hear nobody say, "No, I'm gonna kill a white person today if they cross me wrong." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it, it it's tough. Some most time you have to watch your back on them because like your neighborhood, most time in your neighborhood, who's breaking in your house? Who you know what I'm saying? So it's rough.
Wow. Yeah,
It's
I
hard to,
agree.
and it's hard to escape unless in you know you go somewhere where uh, let's say to a suburb or a different area, and then they're gonna have a name for you to say, "Oh, you leaving? Oh,
Right.
you too good to be around us." Yes, yes, I'm too good to be around you.
I gotta protect myself, me
Yeah,
and mine.
you have your own. You have the right to better yourself to get away from this situation.
Right.
You choose to stay in this environment. So don't blame or put me in a certain box
Right.
because this is what you choose to be around. No,
Right.
I'm leaving. And if you want to hang around and be around this, that is fine with me.
Right. It's like a perfect example what happened to Nipsey when he went back into his community and that happened to him. He was basically publicly executed, and it's sad that we as a community, that some areas of this country where we are the majority, that makes you feel like that, like you're not
But
safe when you get to a certain extent, as far as like maybe financially or with the wealth that you accumulated, that you have no choice but to move out of those areas, because if you
but should
stay.
we be but should we be afraid to go back into them areas,
Right.
knowing that's where you grew up and lived in?
Right, you shouldn't be,
You
and
gave
that's why Nipsey was
your
back
whole
in
life
his
to that
area.
area in that neighborhood. You shouldn't be afraid to go back home.
Right, and that's why we as a community have to do better so that we don't feel like we're in, that there's a threat if we do go back home, because we should, if there is anybody that we should be the most comfortable around, it should be our own people at all times. I don't care if you know them or not.
I think Nipsey was trying to come back to the hood to make some changes. Now I don't know exactly what the changes are, but I believe that he was going back to back to his place to he bought the little spot. He was selling stuff. He would hire people to work, and unfortunately that haven't happened. Let me say this: go back to what I was saying. How we love to jump on each other and kill each other. George Zimmerman still walking around this mug.
Right.
You and I always say all these gangs and stuff that run around here that's always trying to shoot at the other black gang and all that stuff. Here's this man walking around pretty much bragging about what he done, got little Skittles signing autographs on Skittles
Right.
and stuff. And ain't
Sold
none
the
of
murder
y'all went after
weapon.
him yet. But you so willing to kill a motherfucker for stepping on your mother, excuse my language,
You're
stepping on your shoes. You
right.
feel me? That the cops, these cops that getting off on all these killings, they still walking around here doing the
Right.
same stuff.
Right.
And
Yep.
you still
Yep.
walking around here talking about killing a nigga.
Right. Exactly. We gotta change the narrative. And Bug said, I grew up in the hood. I did what I had to do to get out. I worked two jobs and chose not to be a hustler, even though the money was fast. The risk wasn't worth my freedom. I
I
watched
witnessed.
family and friends do time because of a lifestyle. And
I
that's true
watched that.
too.
Me and Bud played ring the ball together, and we've been close friends ever since. And all that
Mhm.
he's talking, I've been watching it.
Yeah.
You know?
Facts.
And Calvin, I sorry, Black the Visionville one, my bad. I didn't give you the opportunity to elaborate on that as well. Again, what
I
that
mean, that was.
does to you, watching your, community members, your brothers, putting you in a position to feel like you have to protect yourself from your own people sometimes. How does that make you feel mentally as a black man?
I mean, it hurts, and it hurts to the gut. It's like a punch in the gut because, um, like I was saying, growing up in that neighborhood, giving that neighborhood everything that you have, and seeing people and understanding people and living that life, and to go back and, or, you know, go back and see how things changed, to if I want to go back and be like, would I stay at night in this neighborhood?
Right.
You know, now, but now the neighborhoods has changed where I grew up because
Right.
now it's all white people.
Thanks to gentrification.
Now it's all white people now.
Right.
So I probably wouldn't be. I would be willing to go and stay the night in that neighborhood, but
Right.
there is still parts, where I have grown up that I probably wouldn't.
Right.
But and it hurts because I say that knowing that I can't, but
Right.
knowing that
Especially
I
being
should be
somewhere,
able to.
yeah, especially being somewhere where you were raised in. You should be able to go back and to take your
Right,
children back and
right,
say, this is where I played at, this is where I went to school at, and be able to go back and
right,
show them, a glimpse into your past life.
right. I show my kids,
Yeah.
the house I lived in
Mm,
got shot up by the Bloods, shot up.
Wow.
yeah.
2 people died in my house,
Wow.
got shot up, and I showed my kids that house, and I didn't tell them the details of what happened,
Right.
but I said when I was younger, your dad used to live in that house, and this happened, and they said the same thing JC said. Wow, Dad,
Hmm.
good thing. My oldest daughter was like, good thing you're not that person,
Right.
because that could have followed us.
Right.
That could have followed us.
And it would have been easy to do because you have more
Right,
opportunities in our Black communities to be
right,
that person than you
right,
do to be better.
right. And then I'll tell y'all a quick story. Right, I was at my auntie's house. Right, 2 people was involved in a shooting. One of the dudes who got shot knew us, and my family was living in that house, so he came banging at 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 my auntie's door because he knew that we were there to help him. He almost rammed his car into her house trying to get help, and he died on the front porch of her house.
Wow.
I was 8 years old when I seen that. 8. I was 8 years old, and I drive past that house, and I can remember that day like it was yesterday.
Well, yeah, because it has such an impact. I bet that's a traumatic experience. And that's another thing I
Yeah,
feel as well, that a lot of our, young Black men, period, deal with a lot of that post traumatic stress syndrome, because
right,
things that you have witnessed in our communities that you weren't able to learn how to correctly process. So it was just turned into, just like when you're
right,
growing up, a little boy, hey, don't cry. You
and
got to be tough. You fell down and hit
right,
your head. It
and this
hurt, but don't you start crying,
right, and
and
and I this is why I'm not trying to cut you off,
you're fine.
Black, but this the reason why right now I tell my son, you know, pull your pants up, pull
Yeah.
up your pants, tie your shoes, don't have your shoes untied, look presentable,
Um,
have some decency about yourself. Understand where you when you go out, look and know your fucking surroundings.
right.
Don't keep your head down, keep your head up.
Right.
Clean your room.
All facts.
Yeah.
Keep it yep. Keep have the audacity to understand somebody, to know if they're joking you or really trying to understand where so that you're not getting played,
Right.
because these streets out here is ruthless.
Right. That's fact.
But it is no type of motherfuckers out here that's gonna love and understand where you're coming from, except for your own ones. And
Yep.
we gotta hold each other down. We got to.
Yep. That's facts. Yep. And Bug said, "We love the hood, but the hood doesn't always love us. Jealous that you made it off of hard work, but will take from you rather than ask you how you made it out." That's facts.
It's facts.
That
I
is
have
facts.
two. I have two sons. One of them um, is very young. He's still his mom, but I have another one that is on his own. And the hardest part for me is I'm their daddy. So if I see something not right, or I see that, and I know first of all my sons are black,
Right.
and I'm getting on your butt like you're a child, but where I shouldn't be. But I'm trying to explain to you through my experiences the
Right.
decisions and choices you are making, or the laziness that you have to do better, is not beneficial for your future.
Right.
And as a black father, it gets tight. Sometimes that tough love is hard when you love your kids. Bug could tell you, and when I tell you somebody that has good tough love, Bug.
Mm.
For me, I'm a little different because I love my kids and I don't want nothing to happen to them. But at the same time, what is it going to take to them to see that you need to do something different
Right.
than what you're doing and get out of this place? Even when I present opportunities for them, it's like they let it go. They don't want to follow up on it, and it's like, come on, son,
Yep.
come on. So it's rough. That's one of the things that you know when I wake up in the morning and my sons haven't called me in the middle of the night, I can breathe a sigh of relief because
Mhm.
it's rough out there.
It is.
And it's easy
Facts.
for to get into something, and when you get into something and you don't have the correct skin tone, it can be detrimental, deadly.
Right.
So it's scary. That's one of the things that is scary about being black, especially a black father, is
Yeah.
you know is having black sons.
Right. And that.
Well, black kids, period,
Yep.
but
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
especially the black sons.
Yeah, that's a fact. We're gonna get out of here, but before we do, I just want to hear from you and the Vision Ville One individually. Just let everybody know, especially the Black women in our community. Period. What can we do? Just your final thoughts, last say so, to be able to help the Black men feel more protected, more supported, and loved in our community.
Um, I say listen to us. Um, don't be so quick to judge all men based off of one person that you dealt with.
Mm.
If it gets to that point, maybe you need to try something different, or a different type of person. But please don't put all men in the category of being considered uh, ain't shit. Just you know, let's grow together. Let's learn each other. Let's figure this thing out so that we can be as one unit,
Right.
and that way can nobody come in and and infiltrate us and continue to pull us apart and keep getting us butting heads against each other to keep us separate. Um, embrace, well, yeah, embrace a masculine man, please. It's not masculine is not a toxic word. They want you to think it's a toxic word. Masculinity is is what you want.
Necessary.
You all these guys running around with all the estrogen in their system, man. I mean, you can love what you want, but when you're in trouble and your life is in danger and you need somebody to get out there and give you a hand, you're gonna want that masculine brother there that's not afraid to put hands on somebody to protect you.
Right.
That dude, that estrogen is gonna be trying to hold his hands up. Well, wait a minute.
Right.
Don't hurt the sister or take off running itself.
Right.
No,
Right.
embrace the masculinity, and us as men, we want to embrace the femininity. That's all I
Right.
got. And I yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you, JC. The Visionville, what's your final thoughts on what we can do to help
I
protect, love, and uplift our Black men?
I say, like JC was saying, give us our just dues when it's time for them to be given. You know, smile for us sometime, like Tupac said, smile for
For
me.
me.
Won't you just smile
For
for me? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because that it goes a long way. You know what I mean? And being able to come home to a happy wife makes a man's day, you know, uh, happier at the end of the day because he know that she's going to understand him, take care of him, and be there for him because he's all all they got, you know. So understand us a little bit better and take the time to, um, uh, you know, I think conversation is a big one. To that's a start anyway. You know, and to love us and care for us and be there for us and when times is hard, as well as we would be there for y'all.
All right. Well, again, thank you both for joining me. I appreciate your time, and everybody have a good night. We gonna get out of here.
thank you for having me.
So please leave a comment below and also subscribe. Subscribe. Or get a thumbs up. And if you get a thumbs down, you're being very
That's
bad,
my
okay?
oldest.
Don't give a thumbs down. Always get a thumbs up.
For
For
now.
Naya Girl.
Peace.
Okay, guys. Bye.
Bye.